Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own, nothing control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 493. Definitely thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is Trustee versus Beneficiary. One of those episodes where we ended up doing these episodes based off request, based off of questions, based off of information that we get, consultations that come our way. So we always appreciate, the people that bring the information our way as far as the questions and the consultations and things of that nature. Always appreciate that. Once again, this is Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, this is Christian at trustchristian.com to actually get in contact with the vault and go through trustee training and really focus on the distinguishment between these two things. Because this is definitely one of those things that people just get on the line all the time. They say, "Oh, I want to be private," and then we get stuck right here, right away at this type of thought process. So we're just addressing things that have come to us in the consultations. This is a big plus to the listening audience. So appreciate New York for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate New York for tuning in live, listening, replay. This is the Vault episode 493, Trustee versus Beneficiary. All right, so we're gonna hop into it. Trustee versus Beneficiary. This is one of those episodes where once again people say, "Oh, I want to be private. I'm gonna be a trustee." People they want to put themselves in a position to win, and then next thing you know, we're going to address some of the things that they get confused, and this isn't legal advice or financial advice. It's the conversation of going over these positions and talking about it in a dynamic way in which, if you're the trustee, why would you put your children in a position of beneficiary? This is where you see wealthy people all the time say, we're not going to give money to our children directly, we're going to give it to charity. And so, this is very apropos for the environment that we're in. This is very in line with the environment that we're in when we're talking about trustee training, talking about successorship, being able to immediately address that issue when you're walking into passing along the estate from one generation to the next or trusteeship from one generation to the next. So, well, we gotta go ahead and say we always appreciate everybody that likes the episodes and everybody that subscribes. So please definitely hit the like and the subscribe button. Always appreciate it. It definitely has boosted us in the algorithm. We've been going strong for years now, and we want to continue, spreading the message and really just knowing. Look, everybody, people that are in trusteeship deal with people in trusteeship. That's why people listen to the vault. That's why people move forward with the vault. Is because they're in trusteeship. So even though we get people all the time to say, "Oh, I have a trust already," they're in trusteeship. So we do work with people that are in trusteeship, and they say, "Oh, I have my own trust. I created my own trust. I got a public trust." This is what they say. So we're gonna hop back into the episode, which is trustee versus beneficiary. And when you talk about trustee versus beneficiary, what control does the beneficiary have? What control does the trustee have? The trustee's got all the control. The beneficiary almost has no control. So people say, "Oh man, you know what? Well, I might put my kids in a position of beneficiary. How are they gonna benefit from this stuff? Because they're not thinking private. They're thinking about putting assets in their children's name so they can pass it along out of their name while they're alive. It doesn't work that way. There's fees associated with it. So you're talking about trustee versus beneficiary. All right, trustee's an officer. Beneficiary, they're just that. They're the recipient. So the officer is definitely going to be in control of a lot of things, whereas the beneficiary, the recipient, only gets what the trustee decides in some cases, or what the governing instrument decides. And the governing instrument is usually it's definitely created at the beginning, so we know how distributions are to be allocated. So you're gonna put your child in a taxable position. Is this what we're doing now? trustee versus the beneficiary. Oh man, give us the details. Why are we not going to put our children in these positions? Because wealthy people don't put their children in a position to be taxable. Oh man, you gotta say it like that to me, Trust Christian in the Vault. You gotta tell me that I'm not supposed to have my children be beneficiaries. We're not saying you have to. Once again, if you're in a position where you're eliminating liabilities, are you going to allow them to be back in a position where they're liable, or put them back in a position where they're liable? See, this is where you get into the, oh, I don't want my children to do what I did. Oh, you don't want your children to do what you did, huh? I see. You don't want your children to do what you did, which is be a great manager instead of just being a recipient. We think about that now, why it happens, why the fall off happens between second and third gen, and whether you all know it or not based off the stats. A lot of times it's almost a 70% fall off from second and third gen. So just know, even if you're able to build it in first, to pass something continuously along from the second to the third is a 70% fall off rate. You guys can look up these stats over the internet. They're just, go look at your favorite funds. Go see what these funds say about uh, how much, if they're not managing the wealth, how much the wealth will fall off from one generation to the next. So you talk about, hey, I want to make sure that my family can be in a position to win, and we can deal with it privately. That's what you're talking about in private trustee training with the vault. That's what we're talking about. When you talk about trustee versus beneficiary, that's like asking yourself, do you want to be a trustee and a beneficiary? Some people come to the vault and they say, well, I could be the beneficiary too because I'm the trustee of the government trust. I first was the beneficiary, now I'm the trustee because I can allocate different X, Y, and Z's. And this is a public mindset. This is a beneficiary mindset, you know, period. It's a beneficiary mindset. How much can you receive? When can you receive it? People come into trusteeship all the time. Well, how much does the trustee get paid? The trustee doesn't get paid. Why would trustees get paid? Oh man, don't say it like that. The beneficiaries get paid. You hear that? The beneficiaries get paid. So if the beneficiaries get paid, how does the trustee do his job? Because there's a document that they're actually managing. The beneficiary just receives whatever the trustee can build and grow. But it seems as though so many people in the environment nowadays in the world, oh man, I'm a beneficiary. Well, that's fair. But there are trustees, pure trustees, and they're not interested in trying to receive a benefit. The benefit means that someone else worked for it. The benefit means someone else labored for it. The benefit means someone else expended mental energy for it. And a beneficiary just receives whatever was a partial of what they're supposed to get, or partial of what's agreed that they're supposed to get. These are the things we're talking about when we talk about trusteeship, when we talk about beneficiary. Of course, we're in the era now of trusteeship where we're actually just here doing what we've always done in trusteeship, which is compare the words. Ultimately, you're just going through the Black's Law Dictionary. You're utilizing your Black's Law Dictionary, and you're going through the words. You got to make sure that you know the words. You got to make sure that you know the language. That's what's going on. You got to know the language, ladies and gentlemen. Trustee is a very important role. It's not the beneficiary. So when people come to the vault and they say, oh, I want my children to be the beneficiary, well, what's the benefit of them being a beneficiary and you being a trustee? And how is that going to, people do come to the vote with a lot of concern of, hey, well, how do I administer successorship? And so that is where children traditionally in our system, they've sat in a room from ages 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 24-year-olds have come to the workshops. And yes, trusteeship. They've sat in a room for trustee training. not beneficiary training. There's no beneficiary training. What do you need to be, what do you need to be trained if you're a beneficiary for? That's where we are. Beneficiary versus, or the trustee versus the beneficiary. So we definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. This is the Vault, episode 493, trustee versus beneficiary. Wanted to definitely do this episode for you all today. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, it's Christian at trustchristian.com. Look forward to hearing from you.